Good afternoon. This is Dr. Matthew Dunn, host of The Future of Email Marketing. And my guest today, coming from New York, if I'm not mistaken, Darren Magarro, president and founder of DSM. I just say, I looked at your record, one heck of a fast rising agency. Darren, welcome.
Thank you very much,
N-
Matthew. It's great to be here.
Nice connect and
We're
have a live conversation on Zoom. We do all this all day,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I got to represent though. We're not New York. We're northern New Jersey.
Northern New Jersey. Okay, thank you.
Repping
Um,
Jersey.
on this side of the on the west side of the Mississippi, we lump it all together. It's like that New Yorker magazine was, New York, and then
All good.
yeah, it's like that.
Oh,
Fill people in a bit on DSM. I mean, you're the founder, the guy in charge, and you guys have been at this for a good long stretch.
it was 14 years, February 7th.
Yeah,
So literally came from the Manhattan, the big agency world.
yeah.
To boil it down, really simply, I got married in '05. Decided that I didn't want to travel. I was working on Toyota at the time, so obviously the clients out in California.
Mm,
Was spending part of my time out there
yeah.
and just didn't want to do it. Came and decided to move to an agency here in New Jersey.
Hmm.
Was there about 6 months, and as every ridiculously dumb entrepreneur decides, there's got to be a better way to do it.
Yeah.
So I bought my laptop and went to IKEA, bought a desk, and my wife and mother-in-law were down in Florida on vacation at the time. We didn't have kids, and it was a Friday night, and I waited for them to call, and I was like, "Hey, I'm starting an agency." My wife was like, "Okay, like next year," and I was like, "No, Monday."
That's a great story, honey.
Yeah,
Hi, guess what?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. There was a silence. They were out at dinner, and
Yeah.
there was like a 30-second silence, and I was like, "I got it all figured out," and I was like, "I had nothing figured out."
But the
And
impulse was there.
yeah, the impulse was there through, I call it serendipity, just through, my strengths is building relationships and,
Uh-huh.
and talking
Uh-huh.
to people. And, we hustled our way through the first year. And by the second year, we were, grossing probably 500,000. And it was just,
Good
you
for
know, we,
you.
we
Wow.
really specialize in like businesses that are, and it's evolved over time. I mean, we have some national clients now, but it really started as an agency to, the reason I rep New Jersey, I say I rep New Jersey, is
Mhm.
because we're about 25 miles out of Manhattan.
Mhm.
Um, and we're kind of like New Jersey's like like New York City's little stepchild.
Right,
And
right.
so we really worked hard to, the state, there's a lot of great agencies in New Jersey.
Mhm.
And over the last 14 years, we've worked hard to build that up. And, through relationships and the team, and our team is every CEO is going, or every president's going to be biased to their team, but
Yeah.
our team, we're only a 15-person shop, and
Oh, wow.
we're really good at what we do,
Yeah.
and that's been the impetus for growth.
Wow. Well, that's a good for you, right? I mean,
Thank
you
you.
went to IKEA, got the desk, and went for it. And was it just you at the start?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, it was funny because I had a buddy of mine who was a designer from the agency who was still working at the agency I came from.
Mhm.
And in his, off hours at night, he would moonlight as my creative guy.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then that was like March. In October, I met our creative director, who's since moved on from the agency. But yeah, we were together for, he came in October of '07, and we started in like a formal arrangement in January '08. And then through other people, I met our SVP of accounts through being on the board of an animal shelter. Just that's how it came to be. And we
Nice.
started building a name.
Yeah, things and people attract people they're gonna that they should attract, right? Kind of in the
Yeah.
world. This is an oddball question to ask, but and I'm thinking in terms of people who are listening who may go, what's an agency do? Like, paint that picture for someone, or what's
Yeah.
your agency do?
We're a full service agency. So
Hmm.
agencies can be, the thing I love about an agency is it could be anything you want it to be.
Okay.
It's a blank canvas. What I will tell you is that a good agency, I think there's three pillars to a good agency. And it has nothing to do with whether they're a creative agency or a digital marketing agency or a traditional agency or an SEO agency.
Okay.
An agency, if it's one person or it's 50 people,
Mm-hmm.
they should be transparent with a client.
Mm-hmm.
So not have a problem with saying no. I think that a lot of agencies get into a lot of trouble because they don't have um, the confidence to say no
Okay.
to a potential client or to a client that they're working with. They get
Mm-hmm.
steamrolled. Two, they should make life easy for a client. The
Mm-hmm.
whole purpose of a good agency is, there's two ways to go about it. Either you're going to hire somebody internally to
Mm-hmm.
run a department, or you're going to hire an agency to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
An agency, with regards to payroll, taxes, all that stuff, usually if you find a good agency, a lot of our clients, we've been around for 14 years. Some of our clients have been with us for the full 14 years.
Wow. Nice.
It was literally like me hustling like friends and family in my hometown. And I think like people felt sorry for me at the beginning. Like they're like, yeah, we'll throw you a project or something. And then over time it built up and we provided value. And
Yeah.
really that's the third thing.
Yeah.
A good agency should provide value.
Yeah.
No matter what they do, they should be transparent. They should be, making your life easier, and they should be providing value. Whatever service they do, they should do it well, and they should do it with honesty and integrity.
It's good philosophy, honestly. Good philosophy and good approach for any business, but
Mhm.
especially nice to hear it laid out for an agency like that. I mean, you've got to have you've got to know how to do some stuff that would be expensive to try and replicate in the in-house department alternative, right?
Uh, Usually, yes.
Yeah, usually, yeah.
Yeah, usually, yeah. I mean, what we've found over time has been, I use the word a lot. It's an evolution.
Yeah.
On the digital side, we started primarily. My background was in television,
Mm-hmm.
so I was a media buyer in television for accounts like Toyota, and I graduated college in 2000. So my early years of this agency were primarily all traditional media, whether it be
Okay.
radio, TV, billboards,
Yeah.
whatever it was. About 2013 ish,
Uh-huh.
I had another a guy I went to high school with came to us, was laid off from a job,
Mm-hmm.
and put together two decks for our clients and said, I think I could bring value. And that
Mm-hmm.
was talk about serendipity. Hadn't seen the guy in like 12 years.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, all right. He came in on a Thursday, brought the decks, wasn't looking for an interview. He's looking to start his own agency. And I was like, you're not leaving the office till you sign a contract.
What
And God,
so he opened up, sounds like he opened you up into new forms of media as well.
yeah. So, and when he came on, he opened up the digital side of the agency.
Okay.
And from 2013 till now, that's been really the evolution. I mean, the digital side, it's probably 80 to 85% of our business now.
Yeah. Yeah. I would think.
On the full service side, we still have a creative team in house. We still have an in-house developer.
Mm-hmm.
We have account managers. We have our SVP of accounts that runs the traditional side
Mm-hmm.
with my help when needed. But we're really nimble.
Yeah.
We moved into a new office in 2017 with about 22 people, and we've doubled the size of the business, and
Wow.
we're now 15 people. So we've learned to. It's a testament and credit to the two women that I have on our staff,
Mm-hmm.
our CFO Charlene and our COO Zinka.
Mm-hmm.
They came in, and I think in learning from my mentor, the number one rule that he taught me, he had a 35-year career at Viacom.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you need to know when to let go and to give things to people that are better than you.
Yeah.
They're more proficient at it.
Yeah.
And Zinka came in and really streamlined the operations. And Charlene came in and, really took over the financials, took it off my plate. And,
Mm-hmm.
Here we are 2 Inc. 5,000s later and, doubling the size of the company. And we're doing really great work
Yeah.
with a really great team.
Yeah.
And we're efficient at doing it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
15 to tackle, 15 people to tackle that. And you mentioned the Inc. Award, which I noted, I think, on your LinkedIn profile. Like, you got to be doing stuff right. How do you, and maybe you can focus this on the last year.
yeah.
Um, you've got the varying demands of clients in the marketplace that you're trying to help them in. You've got a world kind of turned upside down in the middle of a pandemic. You've got obviously talented people that you work with on the team. How do you keep them reined back in and balanced out so that you keep that going for the long run?
We've built it into the culture of the agency.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the folks at DSM are New York City expats.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you an example. Our COO, Zinka, she was working at Condé Nast prior to coming to DSM,
Mm-hmm.
lives in suburban New Jersey, has 2 kids, and we've put at at our core work-life balance. So
Cool.
we're not for everybody.
Yeah.
If you want to grind it out, a lot of young kids, they want to be in Manhattan. And I encourage them to do that. I encourage anybody young to get, experience at a big agency. It was, phenomenal for me. And
Yeah.
it sort of set the fundamental groundwork for what I need to do on a daily basis now.
Mm-hmm.
But we're an enclave for New York City expats. That's the
Yeah,
best way I can put
interesting.
it. Yeah, we put a value on work-life balance. So
Nice, nice. That may, building that into the get-go, obviously, it's not like you can paste it on later, but I would think that that would have been an advantage in the middle of the turbulence of the last year. Like, people kind
mhm,
of have their feet on the ground who are members of your team and at the company.
yeah.
Has New Jersey seemed the same? New Jersey, I would guess, hasn't been affected the way I've read about, like Manhattan being affected by people just saying, "Okay, pick up stakes. I can do this remote job from somewhere else."
For us, it was easy, honestly. I
Yeah.
mean, and I don't say that in a disregarding kind of way.
Hmm.
We live in the suburbs of New Jersey, so it's
Hmm.
been like the opposite for us. There's been an influx of older folks selling their homes here that have been here for, my friends' parents getting offers on their houses for ridiculous amounts of money because
Yeah.
people just wanted out of Manhattan, and
Yeah.
they picked up and went to South Carolina or Florida or wherever they went.
Right. Or wherever. Yeah. Yeah.
For us the transition was seamless in that, we're pretty close to the New York State border.
Okay.
So we have a few of folks in the agency who who live in New York State and work in New Jersey.
Okay.
Um, the hardest part of the transition for us was moving our designers Big Macs out of the,
Yeah.
like into their cars, and we were up and running day 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, but it's, everything has affected people differently. We have young folks on our staff that are, just moving into their first condo or whatever, that, have boyfriends or girlfriends,
Yeah.
all the way to folks like, myself and some of the older folks in the agency that, are married, have mortgages, have kids. So
Yeah.
everybody and everything in between.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Um,
Yeah. It's a span, and it's a little when you're suddenly have to work out of this place. The physical particulars of the place start to matter in a really different way.
mhm,
Work from home sounded glamorous, I think, for some folks, and then they went, "Oh, yeah, oh, I need a chair that doesn't
yeah,
stink." I really need the big monitors. If I'm a designer or developer, I cannot do the work on some
yeah.
squidgy little laptop screen and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for us, like I said, Charlene and Zinke have done a really good job of it. And as some of the middle management folks, we've given them the opportunity to like participate more in the management process and seeing
Hmm.
that it's not like easy.
Yeah.
um,
That's
but
smart. Yeah.
yeah, but
Smart.
I think for us, a big testament to why it's been pretty seamless is
Hmm.
we kind of met everybody where they were at.
Okay.
Whatever your situation was, as long as you were getting your work done and you were being responsible and
Right. Right.
we're not the biggest staff, so it was a matter of trust. It's like
Yeah.
trusting your kids with,
Yeah.
first time they're doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That, it's I've always said hire for character. You can teach other stuff. You can't teach that. Right. You just can't.
Can't
Right.
teach the soft skills.
Yeah, not really. And in an era where whatever you're working on, you will be working on something different. You will have to learn skills within the next, year, months, whatever. You better bank on those soft skills and then get the attitude of, well, I'll learn stuff new. I mean, you just mentioned taking an agency from, the older forms of media into digital, and that's now the dominant piece of the business. So you had to learn a bunch of stuff about that yourself, along with the team, obviously.
Had to learn a lot about it, but I
Yeah.
also trusted. A big part of it was trusting the
Yeah.
people that were getting it up and running, and
Hmm.
not like sticking my nose where it didn't belong. I think there's a very fine line for any
Yeah.
leader that's going through it. Like,
Yeah.
be a part of it and know that you got your people's back,
Yeah.
but also like stay the heck out of the way where you're not wanted.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. What top line impressions, incredibly complex subject, but having the time and work and background in traditional media, and now spending more time on the digital side. What surprised you about it, and what do you find is very much the same in some fundamental ways?
um, the surprises in the digital world, just because everything moves so quickly. I mean,
Okay.
every time our strategy director and the digital team, like they'll want to test everything all the time.
Right.
New
Right.
stuff, you'll think like, hey, we just bought a piece of software like 3 weeks ago. They're like, but there's something else that,
Yeah.
we want to test that. And
Yeah.
so it's being flexible enough to give them having the trust and um, the means to be able to have the best that they can in order to do their job. I
Yeah.
think that's important. The fundamental, thing that sort of never changes. Again, I go back to what I was saying at the beginning. Is a transparency element.
Hmm.
We've been doing this for 14 years. We've made mistakes.
Sure.
Like, own your mistake. And I think that's important, and it's a reason why our clients have stayed with us. Like, there's nothing worse than when you're having an experience, is something goes wrong and somebody won't own up to it.
Yeah.
Like, we all make mistakes. It's,
Yeah.
we're human beings, but own up to it, do better next time, and put forth the effort. I've never had a client that's gotten mad at us for owning up to a mistake and like saying we're going to do better. They might, the initial reaction might be upsetting or angry,
Hmm.
but once they process it and they're like, wow, these guys are owning it, and you know they're willing to take it on the chin and they're willing to do better.
Yeah.
um, that's where I think the rubber meets the road.
Yeah. Well, it also that the strengths of that sort of relationship first, values first approach gives you latitude to make the mistakes without which learning is just impossible. Like
Mhm.
the first agency that I'm making this up, right? First agency that said we can help you get website visibility on search engines, which at one point was a novel proposition, right?
Right, right.
Probably made a ton of mistakes and didn't really know how to do it, but they knew that there was some value there, and we'll figure it out for you or with you
Mhm.
together as we get there. And yeah, you got to have some tolerance for that. I was talking with gosh, I can't remember what the conversation was. I was a bunch of email marketers on a Zoom call the other day, and one of the questions I threw at them is like, how email folks, not necessarily agency folks, I'm sure they feel the same way, but email folks, like big production shops, lots and lots of email. I said, you guys are always so busy working. You're like, production demands are so incessant that I don't see as much appetite for experimentation in your field as I think you need. And they
Mhm.
all kind of, well, yeah, you're right, right? It's kind of the nature of the beast. Like, we're too busy. And I said, if you don't build that in, if you don't build the latitude to, we have to try stuff, we can't just keep repeating the same thing. Sooner or later, it's going to start to fizzle out, right? Cannot, because the world moves on.
It's like anything else,
Yeah.
like what we've learned and what we give, the team. Again, we don't have the largest digital marketing team, but we're a HubSpot partner. We give
Oh, are
them the
you? Okay.
latitude. Yeah, we
Cool.
to go to inbound virtually this
Yeah.
year, and that stuff is locked in. That's like a given.
Yeah.
Like you guys need to be doing this stuff in
Yeah.
order to not only learn what's going on in the world of digital marketing, but
Yeah.
like there's so many great speakers, and a large part I think of what gets missed. This is like my whole focus here is more of like a brand ambassador now, and
Interesting. Yeah.
it's for both DSM and for our clients,
Hmm.
and getting out of like your comfort zone and getting involved in things that at first you're like, this doesn't really interest me, and
Hmm.
you're like, but you kind of need to know about it in order to like stay up with your staff. And digital marketing for me, like I'm by far the probably one of the least
Yeah.
expert
Yeah.
people at DSM,
Okay.
but the team that we have there, it's important that they're bought into what we're doing,
Yeah.
and to from the leadership from the top down, to get that empowerment to like want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. I believe in that wholeheartedly.
I'm seizing on the brand ambassador comments. Good moniker. And let's intersect that with HubSpot. I want to see your thoughts about a particular area. Marketing now gets itself involved with questions of privacy and control in a way that I don't think it did in a more mass and broadcast era, and you end up making surprisingly ethics calls at times in marketing decisions. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, with regards to what we're doing, I mean, we joke that HubSpot, like I can tell with our marketing down to probably the within 5 minutes of when somebody's going to call us, like a new lead,
Right.
which is scary. I
Yeah.
mean, it's very big brother.
Yeah.
But our agency and the world in digital marketing is driven by data.
Yeah.
And without having that data, we're not able to make us and our clients are not able to make educated guesses. It's
Yeah.
completely turned the traditional landscape into something that, like I said, like just through landing pages with HubSpot in the back end, and all those
Yeah.
touch points that we have with somebody during
Yeah.
the sales process.
Yeah.
Like I can see when they're going to call. I know who they are. It's actually
Right.
connected me with people that have since moved away from my hometown that like I've known, I went to grade school with, that are now like reaching out
Uh-huh.
for marketing. Yeah, I mean, it's the way the world's going.
It
It's
is.
big brother to say the least, but that data helps educate our clients. It helps us. And not in an unethical way. I would
Right.
certainly never purport to, have our clients reach out in unethical ways and things like that. But
Yeah.
one of our mottos when we're building good content for search engine optimization,
Sure.
or just content in general for paid social or Google ads or whatever it may be,
Uh-huh.
stop selling and start helping.
Yeah. I
Uh,
like that.
if you build your content in a way that is helpful to
Mhm.
your consumer,
Mhm.
not only is it going to be good for the consumer, which is going to build your brand authority with them,
Mhm.
but Google's going to love it because that's what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. And they'll see the
Yeah.
time on page and signals like that. Yeah. I mean, we're instrumented up and spewing data in a way that I'm not sure any of us ever imagined, and
Yeah.
it's a lot to get your hands around, and it can be scary for people. I think for everybody, but I think for people who feel like they're in less control, but don't really understand how it all works. And at
Mhm.
the same time, we're all opting in some sense. I had a friend. Oh, I asked him about when the state we live in, Washington, introduced the opt-in reporting in the early days of COVID, so that if I had been near someone, and it was a Google and Apple project. If I had been near someone and they turned up with positive infection, that I would get an alert that I had been near someone like that. And I said to my friend, are you going to turn that on? And he was like, no way. Like, what? Well, I don't want to be tracked. I said, you're carrying a cell phone in your pocket and you don't want to be tracked. Reconcile these things for me, would you?
Yeah, like it's the way of
what it does.
Yeah, it's a powerful instrument that is with you all the time. You're on it. We have a 12-year-old daughter, and we're just getting into that phase where she got her first phone, and she's on it all the time.
All the time, yeah.
And her response, because my wife and she works for her family business. They've been around for like 117 years, and I have my own business. She's like, "Well, you guys are on it all the time," and I'm like, okay, well, we're not talking to friends. We're actually doing like some work and, doing the important stuff like checking sports scores and things like that.
Yeah. Well, and there's an on-ramp that's part of the decision as a parent. It's got to be even tougher now. My sons are older than that, but that sort of what amount of connectivity, how many devices, how much time on them, and the line's going to keep shifting back. I mean, I hear of elementary school kids with smartphones in their pockets. It's not actually that surprising to hear now. I was glad when mine were in high school that I could go, okay, yeah, he's still at school. Fine with that. It might have driven him crazy, but I liked being able to know, right?
Yeah, it's finding a balance. It's absolutely important. Again, I'm sort of, our 12-year-old is the oldest, so we're just starting to get into this.
Yeah.
But behind them, I have a 10-year-old, and then I have a 6-year-old.
6-year-old, yeah.
So I can't even imagine what it's going to be in 6 years when my youngest is, in the 6th grade.
Yeah.
And, it's scary, but that's the way the world is going. There's parts of my job that I absolutely love because they think, digital marketing, they think it's like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
But it's finding balance. I think that's a really good word that you used. It's striking a balance and having an understanding. And I think it's applicable for us with the agency, with our clients. Like,
sure. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
How do, we would never cross that ethical line, but it's like all this stuff. And it's amazing when you see the face of somebody who's been primarily in like the traditional world and is making the jump for the first time into the digital world. And they're like, we can know this and we have that. And like, how did you, we joke with some of our clients that we sign. We're like, we knew you were going to call. They're like, how'd you know we were going to call? I was like, because I'm tracking every single movement. This
is what we do.
I'm literally tracking you page by page through the website.
Yeah.
And when you show them that the first time, they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool.
It is cool. And it is stuff works and it's not going to go away. Although at the moment you and I are talking here, we're at a turning of a corner with Apple turning off the IDFA and starting to ask for app permissions. And that's more complicated than it looks, but that's a simple version of it. And then third-party cookies, in theory, starting to disappear like that. The Wild West of tracking everything, we're starting to put up some barbed wire. And we're starting to put up some laws and regs and things like that. And I think we need to keep asking the questions and doing that deliberately instead of ignoring it.
100% agree, especially with 2 young daughters. I think it's
absolutely,
it's super important. On the other side of it, it's where, it's like with everything. I don't know. I always come back to it and it sounds cliche, but it's like everything needs a happy medium.
Yeah.
It's like the pendulum swings way too far one way, then you have to bring it back and you have to find out where it is. Then it gets like way too far the other way. And so finding that happy medium, I think is a good way of putting it. And, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. We'll see. And we'll figure out how to make it go as well. Cause we're talking about such a profound and large scale set of changes. We're not going to get it right off the bat. We'll start legislating and we'll go, whoop, that was too far. That's too much. There were I have to say, we made some relatively good decisions, I think, in the 90s. The DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, gave us latitude to let this thing grow because we didn't know what it was going to be. And, in the rear view mirror, the 26 words in Section 230 looked just brilliant. It was probably a throwaway at the time almost. And now we're going, all right, do we need to change that, pull it in a little bit? well, let's keep talking about it and figure it out, right? We make the
It's
rules for ourselves collectively. That's
Yep.
the process, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a living, breathing thing, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
similar to the marketing that we do. Are we going to bat 1,000 on every on
Yeah.
every campaign we do? No, but
Nah.
the beauty of it is that we can fail fast and we can learn quick,
Yeah.
and we can apply that learning to doubling down on the things that are working and pulling things away from the things that don't.
Yeah. The cycle time of marketing must be just insanely faster than it was, when you started your agency.
Oh yeah,
Like
oh yeah,
boom, 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 and the level of informedness, right? The level of data driven decision making is just a completely different ballgame. And media was a statistics game pre-digital,
yeah.
Nielsen households and whatnot. It's like, okay, probably this. We don't know for sure. And
Yeah,
now
go, yeah,
you're tracking
go,
my picks. You're tracking me on the website, and
yeah,
who's going to call?
yeah.
Big difference.
Back in you're good taking me back to my old agency days with Nielsen numbers, but yeah, it was the household universe and then
Yeah,
demographic within
yeah,
those demographic,
yeah,
um, numbers and things like that. But
yeah.
now I mean, our strategy director on Facebook and Instagram, I mean, the level of targeting that he could put in
Wow.
is scary.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Scary.
it's really it's scary, but it's also incredibly efficient, right? It's like
Oh, it's
we
yes.
shouldn't spend your ad money on your ad money for outdoor gear on people who don't do that. Like that would be dumb.
Yeah.
So if we can avoid it, we will.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's a big part of our pitch. I mean, it's a big part of why we've been successful.
yeah,
It's a big part of the value that we bring to the table.
yeah,
If you have an agency and they're not bringing that sort of level of expertise to the table,
yeah.
um, might want to rethink what you're doing,
I think
because
what they're doing.
we're not the biggest agency, and again, we can bring a level of pretty granular information
Yeah.
to our clients that really makes it useful.
Have you had in growing the digital side of the practice in the last X number of years? Have you had to increase the sort of science and quant uh, skill set or personnel set a bunch? Because I mean, you're talking about math and data at a pretty big scale when you're doing marketing.
No,
No, interesting.
no. What we've done is really brought in good humans
Hmm.
that understand people.
Hmm.
So, marketing is, they call it, it's the perfect balance of art and science.
Yeah, yeah,
The science that we bring to the table, we're doing so with software that we use that is doing
yeah,
a lot of the heavy lifting for us.
yeah,
And what I think the beauty of at least good marketing is taking that data and bringing it to life.
hmm,
So you need to have a really good team of people that are good human beings that understand the human persona
hmm.
to take that data and bring it to life. I
Yeah.
think that's where like the art and the science meet, and it becomes beautiful music.
Yeah, yeah, nicely put. Yeah, and you're right about the tools, and you can hire a heck of a lot of brain power these days in the form of software.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like,
It's what has made us extremely efficient,
yeah,
and has kept our head count down. I
yeah,
mean, the level of overhead is significantly less because of what you can, because of the tool. Our team is so dangerous.
yeah.
With four
Nice.
people, they're able to do now what probably 20 years ago would have taken like 50 people to do.
Yeah, you're right, right. And with an even higher level of precision and an even faster cycle time
Hmm.
than the 50 people a long time, not that long ago, but a while back.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I've been a not I like I enjoy the data and quant stuff, although I don't have the background for doing it. I'm making it up as I go, but I'm a longtime student of visual communication and visualization, and it tickles me no end to see the march of the Tableau and similar tools of taking all the bits and bytes and ones and sixes and starting to make them patterns we can look at and find meaning in and tell stories from. because you're not going to get it out of the mass of the data in the raw. You need to see it. You need to put it in front of your eyes in some way.
It's taking all that info. Again, marketing is marketing, and that, like, I think people overcomplicate it. It's really about taking data in behavior and marrying it to like a beautiful art form, making it visually appealing and things like that.
Yeah.
And if you can, I don't care how many people, you could do it with one person. If
Yeah.
you can make that connection, you're touching, you'll be able to touch someone's soul.
Yeah. And that's the word right there, connection. Yeah. You're right. You're right. It's like, and we're putting it in words, or we're putting it in images, or the combination of those things. But what we're really trying to do is, fire that thing that says, wait a minute, you and I have something, have something between us that works, or is of value, or, we do business on the basis of that, or something like that.
It's the age old question of, it doesn't matter what age you're in.
Yeah.
Do you have what I need?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Do you have what I need?
Well put. Yeah.
If you have what I need, and and I trust you, I'm probably going to buy from you. Yeah, I may ask some questions, but like the brands that I buy, they're very limited, because that's what I like.
Yeah.
They mean something to me.
And
they
they've
have a
earned
connection.
that.
Yeah, and they've earned it by either, good visuals, or, they're useful, or whatever that inflection point is or was, that caught my attention.
Nice. Hey, complete curveball for you. You were a history major in college.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you find any time for continuing learning, reading, and history? I mean, it's all at your fingertips now. And how's that helped you?
My history, I went to Lehigh University, or I transferred into Lehigh University in 2000. I'm sorry, in 90. I'm dating myself now. 97, and it's a big engineering school. And the only way I could get through it, I'm not a math guy, was history. I always loved history. I was always in like AP history in high school.
Yeah.
I'm a historical type of, I still have, I don't read as much of it as I did in college or whatever, but love the history of the industry, the whole Mad Men thing, and, love the show, and just going back to like the early days and reading about it, and reading about how it was. And, it's romanticized in a way, but it's, there's a beauty to it that you can see the evolution, and sort of that, what you were talking about, the patterns of, what you're seeing, and what worked and what didn't, and what you like and what you don't like. A lot of the history part now for me has come in. Last night, I got a National Geographic. They had a special on pirates, and my son, who's 10 years old, like, loves pirates. And so we started reading about all the different pirates in, like Blackbeard in the Americas, and pirates in Europe, going all the way back to ancient, ancient Greece. And it's just really, there's still an entertainment element for me. And I'm pumped that he enjoys it too.
Yeah.
I've been having him like read a section of the National Geographic about, like, Pirates of the Caribbean, and like, and then like read it back to me and tell me what it's about. And like, I'm learning things that I didn't know. That, I didn't do pirates or anything when I did my senior thesis. I didn't study that stuff, but history tells us a lot about the future, and so there's always something that ties us with that fabric. So I enjoy it still. Yeah.
And the the madmen who were figuring out how the new landscape of, primarily television as the media changed at that point. Like, it's not like there's a rule book. They were figuring it out, and some of them very, very ingeniously, and we're trying to do that in this fractured landscape of the digital in the same way. It's like, it's it's not cut and dry. There's a lot of creativity and improvisation and mistake making to say, "Ah, how can we make this work on, do this on Instagram or via Facebook or whatever." Like it it takes some pioneering work,
Mhm.
especially when the media is very, very new and very raw, to do that. My son's back, sort of early teen years or something like that. I remember they stumbled across a Windows game called Sid Meier's Pirates,
Mhm.
and they still talk about it now, over a decade later. One, how good it was, even though it's relatively crude and it's not gaming in the way gaming is, meant today. They're like, it was great. It was fun to play. They say, I know more about Caribbean geography than anybody from playing
Yeah.
that game. You might see if there's a place that's got that available to your son, because they really got glued to it, and they still talk about it a decade later.
Yeah. It's those things that I think an important part about what you said, very simply, without failure, there is no progress. And I think that's a big part of what our industry is about, as frustrating as it is
Yeah,
sometimes, and
yeah,
as, unnerving as it could be
yeah,
when you can't seem to find the answer.
yeah.
Um,
Unpredictable.
that's where progress happens.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we've seen it countless times over the last 14 years.
And you get a little smarter as you go along.
That's
Well,
right.
are you game to do a speed round before we wrap up? I guarantee it won't hurt.
Sure. I'm
Okay,
always up for a speed round.
always up for a speed round. So, dogs, cats, both, or neither?
Dogs, because I'm allergic to cats.
Okay, there you go. Name a favorite place.
The place I'm going to tomorrow, Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Uh, Beautiful. The people are amazing. Been there a bunch of times. The food is fantastic.
Yeah,
It's very old world meets kind of new world.
yeah.
It's not glamorous, but it's just really nice, and the people are awesome, and it's our, my wife and I, it's our happy place.
Is your happy place? Oh, that's fantastic that you're going there. Okay, last speed round question. Favorite or current favorite book or author?
Ooh, I actually just got done with Matthew McConaughey's book.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
called Green Lights.
Yeah,
It's kind of like him telling the story of basically from Dazed and Confused, when he like got his first shot in acting,
yeah.
all the way to now, and all the, and like his parents and growing up in Texas. And it's a really awesome book.
Oh,
I
good.
recommend it. And I'm not a like a reader per se.
Yeah,
I enjoy reading, but like I don't do it all the time. I don't do it as much as I used to.
yeah.
But Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey was fantastic.
Excellent. Thanks for the recommendation. The kid's bedroom in Dazed and Confused is actually the bedroom of a buddy of mine from Austin. He didn't tell me that until like 30 years later. Oh yeah, you remember that bedroom in Dazed and Confused? That was mine. They were scouting locations, and I was like, "What? They used your
Really?
house?" Yeah, really, really.
That's one of
Yeah,
my that movie came out in, I think, 95, and that
yeah,
was my senior year of high school, and I was born it took place in 77, the year I
yeah,
was born. And there's just so many parallels. It's
yeah,
like I still, like, tomorrow when I get on the plane, that's
yeah.
like my go-to every
Go
time I
to
get on a plane.
fired up.
I love it. I
That's
love it.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
McConaughey was a student. I was in grad school at UT Austin, and he was a student there. I think at roughly the same time. I mean, didn't overlap with him or anything, but he wasn't super well known or famous. As a college student, his sort of career took off. I like the career arc he's had. He's become really thoughtful about why he
Mhm.
does what he does, and I'm going to guess that's in the book as well. Like,
If that's what you dig about McConaughey,
yeah,
get the book and read it, because it's very raw. It's
yeah,
like he goes into detail about where he was, how he did things,
yeah,
why they happened. Is not was definitely not like apologetic about like the line from, all right, like he came up with all right, all right, all right. Like that
yeah.
was his signature line, and it literally just he put himself like in the role, and like that's what came out. And he was like, that's the iconic line that I built my career on.
Right.
And there's there's a lot of times, in the parallel that I'll leave you with here, is that like there's a lot of times you try to plan, and I tell this to young people that like I mentor. There's like, you try to plan for everything, and as you get older, you just realize that some things you can't.
Yeah, it's
You
gonna
know,
happen, right?
yeah, some things are just kind of, you gotta be able to roll with what's going on around you. It's not easy.
Yeah,
I am not that person. I am type A when it comes to that kind of stuff. I
yeah,
like to be in control of my environment.
yeah.
But I've learned over time that, there are things I can control, and I do my best that I can to provide what I can. But there's some parts of it that are, only the big man knows. So
Right.
I go along with it.
So I got to tell you, my favorite thing about this conversation is, well, one, my favorite thing is actually hearing everything you say about your company. Like it's clearly close to your heart, and
Mhm.
that is just like that's a treasure to
Mhm.
learn about and to experience firsthand. And the fact that we didn't talk about email and email marketing, eh, so what, right? It's just a tool, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to have, I'm certainly,
Yeah,
we do it enough, but
you probably do it enough.
the bigger, I don't know. Like I just, as I've done these over the last, 15 months, I've
Yeah,
done a bunch of them, and the story, there's so much intrigue and knowledge that has come to light just from people reaching out to me being like, dude, your story is crazy. Like,
yeah,
why did you do that?
yeah.
Like, I was just like, I had a really awesome wife who, was behind me.
Hmm.
Um, so from like a methodical standpoint, I was able to do it. But you have to, you have to try. Like it goes
Yeah,
back to failing.
yeah.
Like
Try it.
there was always a, people were like, "Oh, weren't you afraid of failing?" No.
Yeah,
What? It's like I tell people, what's the worst somebody can say to you?
yeah,
No.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
What's the worst thing could happen? And the hard times and the things that don't work tend to be the best teachers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And trust me, there were days where like
Well,
I want to bury my head in the sand,
yeah.
but you come back. It's like golf. I don't know if you play golf, but you get that one shot every round, round where you're
Just
like,
one. Yeah.
it's like the mafia. It keeps dragging you back in. Like you just can't get out. It's like that, like that one shot. You might have shot like 140, but that one shot, you like hit it clean, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you put it on the green from like 180 yards out, and you're
Yeah.
like, all right, this is why I got to come back next
Right.
time.
Right. If I can do it once, my brain says you could do
Do it again.
that.
You could do it again.
Again.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, what a pleasure. Darren Magarro, founder and president at DSM. Darren, I hope you have a fantastic time in Mexico with your wife, and I really, really did enjoy speaking with you. Thanks for making the time.
Thanks a lot, Matthew. It was great being on with you. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'll put a marker on here.